Welcome, everyone. We are officially at the top of the hour. Before we go ahead and kick things off, my name is Ray Swanson. I am the Director of Marketing here at Liquidware, and I'm serving as our host for today's webinar session, Modernizing Application Delivery, Moving Beyond Legacy Solutions. We'll be joined today by Jason E. Smith, our VP of Alliances and Marketing, and Tom Wynn, our Solutions Architect. He's so much more than that, though. He really is amazing. We've got a great panel here. But just a few housekeeping things. If you guys have any questions or comments for us as the session goes on, please feel free to go in the Q&A session or panel and go ahead, add your questions or comments. We appreciate it. We do have some time at the end that we will allow for questions and comments, and we'll try to get to as many of them as we can in the allotted time that we have, because we do know that today is the start of March Madness, and so we'll get you guys off to your sessions or get you off here so we can get you ready for that opening game. Also, we are recording today's session, so keep an eye on your inbox in the day or so after the event for a link to that recording. So if you wanted that recording for review, or maybe you wanted to share it with a colleague who couldn't be here, go ahead and keep an eye out for that link, and we'll get that out to you as we move along. So without much ado, I'm going to go ahead and pass the ball over to our presenter, and we'll have Jason Smith take it away.
Thanks, Ray. We love live webinars, in a time where there's recordings and things like that. So thank you for taking the time out of your day to join us for today's webinar. And like Ray said, we like to keep it interactive. I mean, we're going to cover some things, but even if you want to put it in the Q&A window, some of the things you hope we cover today, feel free to put that in right now. We'll customize this a bit and look at those as we go through. And we've got slides here. We've got a couple of demos, but we can, like I said, we know this space very well. We'd be glad to take any questions that you may have in the app delivery space, especially for Windows. We always level set our webinars by talking about our entire suite, what we do. And I'll be brief here because we're going to spend most of our time talking about FlexApp today. Liquidware provides digital workspace management, and we do it in a way that we have the only solution suite in the industry that really covers not only knowing the user experience, and we coined the term user experience with Stratosphere UX, but also being able to effectively change that user experience with full user management and through application portability with FlexApp. So our DEX solutions have been recognized by Gartner even as of late, with the command offering, with the combined offering of Stratosphere UX and Command Control, as being one of the leaders in DEX. And so we're in a magic quadrant from Gartner, the first ever that came out last year. You can find us in that, and our fit there, and our unique fit for DEX as a leader in that part. But we go beyond DEX. You see that moniker there at the top of the slide there, that we go beyond DEX by being able to do what I said earlier, and that is effectively change that user experience by being able to manage the user, give them better access to their user-authored data seamlessly across desktops, improving the DEX as they flow from desktop to the desktop, whether it's virtual or physical or cloud, by making not only the user profile, but as I said, the data and their application and their settings, map drives and printers, all that on a context-aware basis, full user management, and then the applications that they need just in time on the desktops that they are able to log on to through FlexApp, through modern application portability with FlexApp. So that's how we provide the industry's only digital workspace management suite that goes beyond the DEX moniker to work across all Windows desktops, virtual, physical, and cloud, and to even monitor the thin clients and the agents and the OSs that are built on Linux that get you to the Windows desktop and applications. We'll jump right into next slide. A little bit of a quick delay in doing that. So let's talk about the need for modern app delivery. Really, because the modern digital workplace is more dynamic than ever. It's ever changing, and we saw a lot of this happen, several years ago when there was a big movement for work from home for various reasons, and we also see this with new technologies being able to deliver truly cloud-based desktops on demand from several of the leading vendors, including the latest one being AVD directly from Microsoft, Windows 365, and of course the stalwarts of Citrix and Omnissa out there providing virtual desktops, but physical desktops as well. Users may have 3 or more devices that they perform work on: their laptop, their home PC, their virtual desktop, maybe even another one. Sometimes it's a tablet that they're having published applications come in from Windows desktops. So you see device sprawl there, and you don't want to have to deliver the application multiple times, multiple ways, just because they have a different PC. You want to deliver it once and it's done. Slow application deployment. Packaging up apps takes, for complicated apps, as many as 40 hours delay in productivity in traditional means or legacy means. And then slow application deployment, because even some of the newer technologies, while Microsoft Intune is a great technology, we can even deploy our modern apps that way. It's an eventual state solution where users have a delay in their productivity. It's not a great day zero approach for getting applications out to the desktops they need, unless it's combined with something like our Profile Unity and FlexApp solution. You'll see how we do that with immediacy in today's demo. You end up with also base image sprawl and overload, because especially in published application environments and physical environments as well, and VDI environments, you end up creating dozens of images for specific departments to deliver their applications. This is illustrated very much so in Citrix types environments, RDSH environments, where you have specific images for one department, then another one for another department. You may even have sub-images in there to get the applications out, rather than relying on a standard image, and you'll see this on one of the next slides, and then delivering the applications in a more modern way. Fragmented workspaces. We spoke to device sprawl, but also virtual, physical, and cloud desktops. They need unified application delivery, package up an app and deliver it one time. And then the high cost of device loss. Getting a user's laptop back up and running, whether it literally experienced a local disaster by going down in flames, or maybe it was stolen. Between the hours it takes to deliver those apps back to the desktop and an admin doing that for a knowledge worker can cost as much as $35,000 in data loss and downtime, according to industry reports. And then some solutions like AppV are partially end of life. AppV server, and that deadline is coming up quickly. So time is ticking on the AppV being partial, Microsoft AppV being partial end of life. As many of you probably know, if you're leveraging Microsoft AppV, it was to be end of life in April 2026 totally, but they gave it through a lifeline, Microsoft did, and the AppV sequencer will remain around in a maintenance type mode, as well as the AppV packager will remain around in a maintenance mode. But it's very clear that they're not adding any new features to it, and it is truly just security patches and maintenance, as we've been told by multiple sources and has been reported that those will stay around. So what's that mean? AppV server being end of life still in April 2026. Now, if you've got AppV packages, if you want to remain on that legacy solution, you must rely on a third party to deploy AppV packages. And there's a couple of those out there. Citrix does it in their Web Studio solution, where they can deploy AppV packages and MSIX and FlexApps, by the way. And then Azure App Attach is coming in to the rescue a bit. If you're on AVD, you'll be able to deploy AppVs in that way. But if you're doing it for a variety of Windows desktops, you're going to be limited to on the ways that you can do that. And Profile Unity can actually do that. We can deploy the native AppV package, and it is really a perfect replacement for AppV Server. And it gives you some features that you didn't have in AppV Server to do registry fix-ups and to do things like that. And you can also import your AppV packages over to FlexApp, and then you can continue to deliver those, as well as it gives you editing options in there. So that AppV server end of life is coming up. 408 days, that's plus or minus a couple of days since I put together this slide. But that's coming up very quickly, just a little bit more than 1 year. And if you've got hundreds of apps delivered this way, now's the time to start looking for an option. Tom, you have a demo for us, and we'll talk about more on AppV in the following slide. Do we want to go ahead and talk about AppV here and how we can deploy those packages with Profile Unity?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Jason. So, as Jason mentioned, with the AppV server going end of life, we're a really good solution to help you. And the reason why we added that functionality is say you have 200, 1,000 AppV applications, you don't necessarily want to hard cut over that delivery method to either another solution, another packaging solution such as FlexApp, because that'll cause strain in your environment, your support structure. So we give you the ability by with the Profile Unity console, where you can still deploy your AppV applications and then systematically move over a small handful of apps, so you can control the support environment. You can control the the impact on your user community, because the last thing you want to do is show up on Monday morning and have like 1,000 trouble tickets because you just had to hard cut over all your applications.
Right. Let's go ahead and that's great points. And if you have thoughts on AppV and where you are at cutting over, or maybe you're not worried about it, maybe you're going to continue on with AppV packages for certain use cases, and feel free to put those in the chat window, and we'll take any of those. And Ray, let us know if we've got any specific to that coming in. I want to run through some key differences in here, and why you'll see that FlexApp and with Profile Unity provides a more modern application delivery approach rather than AppV being the legacy approach. The more modern times that it's been built for, Windows 7 environments and forward, really, FlexApp really excels in there, because there's less of a reason to use AppV. There's less of a reason for full isolation and things. You'll find that we have an easy and intuitive UI in our packaging console for FlexApp, and it doesn't take an expert to necessarily package up an app in this way. And then the fully automated packaging options that we have in there lets you really run end-to-end application packaging through us. I think I've got a slide on that a little later, so I won't steal too much of my own thunder, but you can fully automate packages, getting them packaged up for FlexApp to make them containerized. And when a FlexApp is delivered, the other reason why it's really modern is because the OS thinks, and other apps think, if they could think, that the app is actually there. And that's because we do not provide isolation the way that we do by default. We don't provide isolation. The applications are fully exposed to where, when you go looking for them, all those files and registry keys are actually there. And that is very powerful, because it allows every application to interact with those as if they are natively in there. And that gives us a very high compatibility rating for the types of apps that we can do this way. However, we do have micro isolation. So if there's a file-by-file conflict, we can take care of several of those scenarios. Most every scenario are a registry key, and we do that silently in the background to head these off. So the full options for isolation, we are working on some things. So look for some of that for a little later this year, for those cases where you might need full isolation in there. Micro isolation takes care of tons of things, as well as more modern operating systems give you less dependence on needing things fully isolated. AppV server dependency, it's not required on our side, but of course it is required on AppV. Of course, we do require some deployment mechanism, and that is our Profile Unity console engine to deploy these applications through our modern client. Profile management is robust and centralized, and the two should be tied together, we believe, because you can do fix-ups in the profile and treat profile and app data accordingly for specific applications where you can leverage those same context-aware settings. When you're transitioning support for legacy AppV, we provide that, as we've stated. You can import AppV packages directly into FlexApp. You also have the ability to deploy FlexApp packages, AppV packages directly with Profile Unity. And then our context-aware and in-depth capabilities in our console are very in-depth and flexible, whereas you're pretty limited when you're deploying AppV packages only to specific group or users for the most part. Offline app support we do have by default. You can cache apps to the endpoint. We also have something called FlexApp One. And then we have registry fix-ups that can be done at a very powerful HKLM level, even with the same context-aware awareness. So you're able to do fix-ups for applications that behavior can be changed through a registry key. The performance impact's pretty minimal for what we're doing with FlexApps. The same, because the applications are being actually executed locally, you're going to see approximately the same type of resource usage on the endpoint. Scalability is great because of all the added tools and functionality that we give you at your fingertips within our solution. And our security and compliance is very high. We can even actually add OAuth to any package within FlexApp, making it even more secure with multi-factor authentication. And then our application compatibility is stated very high, and you don't have to have an application expert to be able to package them up. And we're very competitive at the way that we license our solution. AppV being made available to the market mostly through MDOP licenses on top of your Microsoft license, which of course many organizations do have access to. At this point, I want to ask real quick before we do that demo, Ray, what are we seeing? I saw a few things come in.
Sorry, give me 1 second. I was muted. Someone actually just did ask, delivering apps today through base image, AppV, and some older environments. Oh, that's part of the informal poll.
Yep.
And thin app. So somebody here is using base image, AppV, and thin app for delivering apps. So that's great. So yeah, if more people have some of that in there, that'd be great. Let us know what you're thinking.
Yeah.
What you're using.
Yeah, if you're informal poll time, which means just volunteer, if you will, what's going on in your environment there, and put in the chat window, and we'd be glad to discuss it. Let's cut over to that demo if you're ready, Tom.
Yeah, absolutely ready. Go ahead and advance that for me, please.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
All right, let's go. Let's click the demo. Okay, so in this demo here, this is a Profile Unity console. And as you can see, I just select the AppV module inside Profile Unity. And it's very simple. I can apply a filter saying if member of this AppV group, if logging into this IP segment, then I just point to where that .appv file exists. And I click publish and I click OK. And away I go. It's as simple as that. We like to say our console is a 5-click console. To make a configuration, it generally only takes about 5 clicks. So that's how easy you can deploy AppV packages and somewhat not be so strained with, oh no, my AppV server is going end of life. But that's okay. And also touching on that previous poll, we do have the ability to present not just AppV applications through our console, but we cover ThinApp and MSIX. So that has you covered as well. Thanks.
Great, great demonstration of how we can replace AppV server. There's advanced features in there, as we said, for being able to do registry fix-ups throughout the Profile Unity console. There's other features that can help you deliver those applications the way that you treat the profile and app data, so you'll have all the advancements at your fingertips as well.
Yep. And Jason, if I can just add a little color to your previous slide where you talk about micro isolation and such. The reason why we started off with micro isolation is because we didn't want you guys to have to fight with interoperability with other applications in the OS, whereas you got to put holes here, allow this decom to talk here, and things like that. So with our micro isolation technology, I'll give you a use case. I had a customer that installed, their Microsoft Office into their base image. but they didn't want all their Excel plugins to be available for everybody. Like finance has their own plugins, and other HR has different plugins. So with FlexApp, we were able to just create the plugins and have it interoperate with the Microsoft Office solution that was locally installed on the base image. And so that's where it's really powerful to give you that ability to context aware, say this person gets that, this segment gets this and such. So I wanted to touch on that.
That's great. The image management simplified is one of the biggest challenges that we're solving here when you're delivering applications in a more modern way. Illustrated at the top here is how you might have one base image per department, or for either a published application server for Citrix or RDS, or through a VDI, or even for physical desktops. So that can be quite intimidating when you end up with dozens of base images, or sometimes with the largest organizations, hundreds, because you've got multiple people managing this. But when you deliver applications in a better way, and you deliver them just in time, and they follow the user on a context-aware basis, the way that you can with our dynamic FlexApp technology, you can use a static base image, and we have been successful in getting some of our customers down to a single base image. You can't always get there because there might be specific difficult applications that you really want in the base image, but we can make great strides in helping you reduce the overall number of base images drastically with the approach of delivering your applications with FlexApp. And that's because we bring up FlexApp in for the user based on our context-aware settings at some point in time that you wish it to come in. It can come in at boot time, login time, post-login time. It can also come in on demand, which we innovated in this industry, the industry's first on-demand applications. It can also come in based on a trigger point, something that's changed during the session. So if you've got a mobile user in a hospital and they've moved to another floor or to a lab that they should have access to an application, or maybe an accounting person that needs access to an application while they're in the office, but for compliance reasons, they shouldn't have that at home. We can make those sorts of things happen based on context awareness, as well as trigger points, even during a session. So the net result is you end up with drastically fewer base images to manage. So the traditional software installation, as demonstrated on the left here, you're actually tattooing the operating system. If you're using even Intune to deliver your applications, or SCCM to install applications, or installing them by traditional means, this is what's happening on the left side. You are forever changing that operating system and that image, unless you're rolling back images every time, and that's not going to happen every time you modify something. That's because applications do not cleanly uninstall. There are things left behind, a lot of rogue services, system files, things of that nature that over time will contribute to what the industry's kind of nicknamed Windows rot. The machine becomes slower and slower. That's traditional software installation. When you come with a more modern application approach with FlexApp, you do not tattoo the operating system. You literally have the applications work and run seamlessly and interact, but the system files and all the other related areas are literally untouched. Applications are turned on like a light switch, and they're turned off like a light switch when you disable them. And so the net result then again of this method is that that system will run as good as the day that it was first provisioned. So why FlexApp? You don't install applications, you actually just attach them. It works with any Windows operating system. We literally were the leader in this area where applications can come down for any application, any desktop, anywhere. Citrix, VMware, Microsoft, ABD does not matter. You do not have to sync up with your license of your platform like Omnissa or any others. They will run across any of yours, but that's because you are licensing them. Most often, you're licensing them on the named user. So the applications, you're paying for the user and not the number of machines that you're doing that most often. There's other licensing scenarios. We focus on the individual application. So you may be wondering about OS patches and things. You leave those to the base image. Yeah, and you might also decide that Office stays in the base image and things like that. We can do Office, but oftentimes it's better left to the OS because that's when you get those come in. Microsoft MSIX and MSIX app attached. They're good, but The vision for MSIX, a lot of people forget this, is that the vendors of the world that create software would start delivering their applications as MSIX rather than MSI. This did not come to fruition, and it looks like it's very slow to come to fruition, if ever, and only the occasional unicorn that you hear of a company, vendor actually doing that. So you're left with a very low compatibility rating out of the box for MSIX, 30 to 40% of apps at best. And that it's actually much lower than that, because if you've got 30 to 40% of your applications, your Windows applications being delivered by MSIX from your vendor, I'd be very surprised. Easy to convert ones is where that comes in, the 30 to 40%. Then you can use tools to get that higher. And there's experts in the industry that we think highly of that can actually help you with their custom written tools and Microsoft tools to be able to get that higher. Some are claiming as high as 70%, but those are with added fees and added cost for tools to be able to do that. So Liquidware FlexApp, high compatibility rating, 90 to 100% of your applications can be done this way. I say 100% because we have customers where we got 100% of their applications FlexApped and out there. Otherwise, some organizations might have one or two they want to keep in the base image and one or two that need to stay in the base image for technical reasons. So it is a much better modern application delivery solution, and it's at the top of the list for the way that we do this. We're first to market with a lot of things. Some of these things we already mentioned, but I'll touch on many of the things that I didn't. When you package up an application, you're packaging it up one time, then it can be used across any Windows operating system going forward. Any of those modern ones from Windows 10 and forward, even Windows 7 will support in certain cases. But any of those that are still not EOL from Microsoft, that package is packaged at one time. It's going to work across all of those as long as the vendor has supported that. The applications anywhere, we touched on that. The fully automated packaging, that's from us. That is literally working with silent switches, the same that you're used to using with SCCM and similar. And we can plow through those applications, given several drone machines being able to go through those and reset, go through and reset, and be able to put those out, and you're able to enter your application testing phase right away. The integration that we have with Microsoft and Citrix, I'll touch on that in the coming slide. Because it's industry first in that area too. Dynamic applications, focusing only on the apps. Fast packaging. When you package up an app, it is as easy to do as going click, 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 next, 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 finish. Yes, we do have some that we need recipes for, and we have many of those published through our help files and through our knowledge base. Applications on demand was a first by us and still is a first. We called that click to layer. Now we don't use the layer moniker so much anymore, but applications on demand is we put a stub icon out there if you're delivering an application this way, and it is never connected to the OS until the user actually clicks on it. That's great for sheer number of applications that you may or may not need at the endpoint. Application attachment, we attach them. They're not actually installed. And then FlexApp 1 is an innovation from us that no one has touched. Applications literally everywhere in modern times. You can even deploy those on a USB stick. You can put those into Avanti DSM or Microsoft Intune, any deployment software, and roll them out without our architecture. It's literally, if the FlexApp put out in an alternative format for this purpose, you can take them offline easier, and it gives you great flexibility in the way that you're delivering your applications. But to be clear, access to FlexApp 1 and FlexApp, it's one solution. It's just a format that comes out of the packager when you do that. So the widest industry support, we're not only supported by all the testing and validation vendors of the world out there, such as Remo 3 and Application Readiness, IT Access Management, and the others, but we have added support from the platform vendors. Citrix actually added extra support for us. That is, you can stay in their control plane and deploy FlexApps through FlexApp 1 through Citrix Web Studio. We're the only third-party vendor other than Microsoft that they've done this for. They do it for MSIX, they do it for AppV, and as you see in this screenshot, they do it for FlexApp 1 functionality. And it's easy to have that integration because FlexApp 1 is very powerful and they can deploy those packages. You can deploy those packages through Citrix Web Studio for both DAS and for CVAD. That functionality came out last year. You can look at YouTube to see in-depth demos of that. And then we've worked with Microsoft for the last 18 months or so. And in November, we announced that they have put hooks into our FlexApp core, which is our full architecture, being able to sync up those packages for AVD, for Microsoft Azure App Attach. Microsoft Azure App Attach used to be called Microsoft Azure App Attach, MSIX App Attach. Now there's several formats that they support. We were one of the premier ones that they supported this way. You can stay in their control plane, and these FlexApp packages were synced up. The ones you see in your left-hand column were synced up from our management control plane, and you can deploy those directly within their control plane. Now, you do get added functionality if you come back over to our control plane and you leverage our context-aware filters, but it gives you a single pane of glass to be able to do this from AVD to assign these to users and host pools directly in this area.
Hey, Jason, there was a question that came in.
All right.
When will we support Windows 11? The answer is we already do. With our latest GA release of 6.8.7, we support all the way up to Windows 11 24H2. And I put a reference link to that in the answer, the Q&A section. I
think H2 support's technically coming out next week, though, right? Is in our R2?
Yep, R2.
Yeah, R2. So I think it's planned availability for 24H2. I'm calling that right. Is in our R2. It'll be out next week. I say that 6.8.7 R2 is what it's called, revision number 2, and it'll be planned availability. I believe is on the 25th. You'll be able to download that straight from us. But Windows 11 is already supported. Good question. And once a package is done for Windows 10, of course, it's going to work with those as well, as long as the vendor supported it. Our packaging is greatly simplified. This is a quick look at our packaging console, which would run on a VM. That's the best practice for doing that. You would put it on something like VMware Workstation or any other hypervisor that you can easily reset and roll back. That packaging console is going to also clean up that machine every time. And to create a package, you've got several already in here in the list. Through a port, it's speaking to our management console. They're immediately available and ready for deployment and testing. You hit that create button. When you hit that create button in there, it's going to pop up a form. And this is the manual packaging. Manual sounds intimidating, but it's not. This is the next finish. It's like installing any software package. Even so, a marketing person like me can do it. So you put the package name in here, and then you put the package version number in here. That's how you can do versioning in here and identify that without giving a unique name for the package. And then the package description, all that's free form. And then you get to the installer location, and you would point to where your setup files are, and you would identify that and populate that area with a simple browse click to. Package type by default is going to be a VHDX. We do still support VMware's VMDK format in here, but VHDX is a lot less overhead. They're far more dynamic, so you'll probably just stick with that format. Where those are going to be stored on the network are cloud file share. We support all 3 major clouds by doing this. Also create a FlexApp 1. It's going to give you that output as a FlexApp core and that FlexApp 1 executable that you can deploy by any means necessary. Give you great control, and that's where our OAuth can come in to help you control those. And then capture mode in there is you leave that set to normal most of the time, and you can leave the size as large as you want, because you can also leave that as expandable down at the bottom. It's going to grow as needed for the container. So no worries there. Easy to do, and once you hit create it, you're off to the races, and that installer is going to kick in, and it's going to capture literally where that application would go in the OS and literally where it's going to go in the registry. And we keep a record of that, and then when it's played back at the endpoint, our service there, our container service, is going to make all that ring true for that user when it comes in on a context-aware basis, and the app will show up containerized in that VHDX that it's been packaged in. But then that situation happens where you can turn that application on like a light switch and populate all those areas, and turn it off like a light switch when it's no longer needed or rolled back. The packaging automation that we have, as mentioned earlier, gives you the ability to not do the manual packaging. So when do you use each? I would say, so if you've got a few dozen applications, we'd recommend that you just stick to that process I showed earlier. If you've got dozens of applications or hundreds of applications, that's when you want to think about our packaging automation. The industry's only end-to-end automated packaging. You would set up not only one of those VMs like I spoke about earlier, but you would have, in this case, we've got 3 set up, and those are going to go through your packages. You'll point to that same area of where your setup files are and where this architecture is. It takes a little bit to set up, but once it's off and going, again, that happens, set it and forget it on a Friday, come back on a Monday, and you'll have your applications already in FlexApp and done for the ones that were easy to go through, that the silent switches worked for. And just because if one doesn't work out, you can still go back to the packaging process that's more manual, follow a recipe, and get those applications done. So it will plow through a lot of the easy to package applications. Anything unique that may have missed a radio button or something, you can come back in, and it still has a very high chance of being compatible with FlexApp, the way that works. This one says convert app V to FlexApp. You ready for that one, Tom?
Yes, sir.
Here we are for the demo of this.
All right. Yep. So here I'm just going to log into my packaging console, and once I hit the landing page, I hit the drop down. And one thing to note is there's a convert app V option, but there's also a convert app volumes and convert MSIX option as well. So here I just go and I just select where my app V package is. Yep. So I just go to my FileZilla. App V, there it is, convert, and then it's going to run through the conversion process. So once that's done, let's roll through here. Yep, so then it updates the metadata, it runs through and it mounts the application, make sure it works. And then it sets ACLs based upon what the OS needs in order to read it. And it's that simple. And so now I have FileZilla, then I can play it, I can test it, I can go in and edit it as well. So post conversion, you can go in and do in-place upgrades and such. And actually I have a more detailed one, Jason. Do you mind if I share my detailed one?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yep, sure thing. And I apologize for that. So let me see.
I have a question that came in the meantime. It is about around app V. So when would you want to import an app V versus just repackage it if it's this easy to package apps? And so if it is app, you probably want to go ahead and get it natively into FlexApp. If it's an easy one to do that you don't need full isolation for, or if it's not a special case. Otherwise, you can import them and they'll work just fine. So if it's a time crunch and you're trying to get all these done, you saw how easy and fast that was to do. Otherwise, you can, yes, it is your option to just repackage it up with FlexApp because of the next finish.
Yep. All right, great point, thanks. So here, in this more extended demo I have here, I've already imported the app V, but I want to make small changes to it. So I can go in, I can open up our quick editor, I can make, file system changes, and it's really helpful for like Oracle clients or whatnot, where you want to change the TNS names.aura, things like that, or you have Crystal reports and you want to change the location of where the reports get sent out and such. But you can you can add, remove, disable, schedule tasks, services, or even just as simple as renaming the icon that shows up on the user's desktops. You can do all of that through our quick editor, which is what I just showed. So now I've edited it, but now I realize, wow, my version of FileZilla is just so old. Let's go ahead and do an in-place upgrade to get it to the latest version. So I selected the extend option. And so it's going to mount once I click start. It's going to allow me to do an in-place upgrade. So just bear in mind, I imported this from AppV, but then I'm using FlexApp to actually upgrade the version. So now I'm on version 3.31. And then I just go and check and say, hey, is there a new version out? So I just say, yo, yeah, there is. Go ahead and install a new version. So I just go through the regular upgrade process as I normally would. And there you go. Now it's 3.68.1, which is the latest one from FileZilla. So I'm happy with what I see now. I go ahead and close the application. And then I click finish. Once I click finish, it commits that right. And so the next time the user either logs in or the system starts up or they double click the new FlexApp 1 portable executable, that new version will automatically be there for them on the fly without very little interaction on the end user's perspective. Yep, so I'm going to go ahead and just sign out of my packaging machine, and I'm going to go to my console, and in the console, I go to assign this new version. So I just click, I just go to my FlexApp, I drag that new FileZilla over. And one thing I'm going to show you here is my filter management. So what I did was, I can create a new filter that just says, I'm going to call it FlexApp, FileZilla. And then my condition is if member of the FlexApp FileZilla group. So global group, FileZilla, I added, but then also I'm going to take it one step further. I'm going to say the user has to be a member of this group and they have to log in to a machine in this specific IP range. So it gives you much more granular control of who gets to access the application, what constraints you want to use in order to either limit or allow the visibility and the start of any application that runs locally, because we can use Booleans and or statements. So in this regard, I'm using both IP segment and user group membership. So I'm going to go back in to my user configuration, go to my FlexApp module, and just slide that FileZilla application over to the allocated section, and I'm going to select that filter I just created. And I'm going to enable click to layer as well, just to show you guys what that just-in-time delivery looks like, where the icons show up on the desktop or the start menu where your user base is used to seeing it, but it's not visible to the OS yet until they double click on it. So I'm going to log into my test VM here. There we go. So logging into my test VM. Splash screen show says, hey, we're doing stuff. And here we go. We're logged into the desktop, and you're gonna see applications just start auto-populating in a multi-threaded nature. You see FileZilla is there, Firefox, Teams, Notepad++. But since I made FileZilla click to layer, once I double-click that, look in the bottom right corner of my screen there. You're gonna get a little display message that says FlexApp is delivering your application. And there you go. It mounted on the fly. It made itself available, and everything's functioning as it should. All right. Thanks, Jason.
That's great. Ray is back with us, and he can let us know if he sees any questions in the window, and I'm going to share back my screen for a couple of slides. So we've talked a little bit about FlexApp 1 today, and I want to let you know that there's a way that you can share, that you can try this out. We have a website already set up where you can go out there and download 8 or 9 different applications that already package it up as a FlexApp 1. You don't need our architecture to run these. Beauty is you download them and you're able to double click on them and run them on any Windows machine. Now I realize that this is a barcode. You'll be scanning it with your phone, right? But if you bookmark that site, you can pull it up on your PC as well. And Ray, can you put the maybe you can put the URL in the window too, so they can just click on the URL.
Will do. We'll get that in there in just a second.
So when you do this, you'll be able to run these on your local machine, and you can actually use these same packages. If you want to test them with Intune, you can create an Intune win file, and you can deploy those through Intune. So if you're an Intune administrator, you probably already know how to create an Intune win file and to get those out. Now, be aware when you, as I said earlier, when you deploy applications with Intune, you end up with Intune's deployment delay that will likely happen. That package is going to take a little bit of time to get down to the endpoint. You will not see that type of a delay with full FlexApp when you're using our console. You will get that immediately to the endpoint based it, and it'll come in for the user on boot time, login time, post login, or on a context-aware setting on a click-to-layer basis on demand. Those are the options that you can preset, so you do not have the eventual state of waiting for Intune. It's immediate gratification, and the user is immediately productive. With FlexApp 1 and those packages that we have out there is an easy way to test those. A cool one that you'll find in the list when you click on that link is Pinball. That was in Windows 95. We found that package and we made it a FlexApp 1. No magic that we're doing there for isolation. That app would work if you knew where to grab the binary for it, the setup file for it on modern operating systems. But that's a fun one to try. And then there's a few open source products in there. We didn't do any that have to be licensed for that reason.
Yeah, Jason, a question came in, and I can answer that question. And it says, how does the native versus isolation work with a shared hosted desktop environment with multiple users? The answer is a two-part answer. So I'll start with the first one. On a native traditional Flex app, when the first user mounts and attaches and layers in that application, it mounts to the OS and it makes itself visible to that user based upon the context-aware filtering that we use. However, all the other users on that shared environment won't see that application unless they're entitled to it as well. If they're entitled to it, once they go to launch the application, it's not going to mount again. Our agent, our container service knows that it's already mounted, so it's going to leverage the existing mount and just go ahead and start that application for that second, third, fourth user. And then with the isolation question, that's coming in the future where we have full isolation. How that's going to work is it's going to be purely isolated. So user one runs an isolated application. It's only going to be visible to that user. User two goes in, runs that same application isolated. It's going to create a separate isolated session just for that user. And that's the fundamental difference between how the two work.
Good question. There's another one I see here. Could you tell me about when would you use FlexApp 1 versus what you're calling FlexApp Core again? So when we introduced FlexApp 1, that was our way of having packages go offline. But now in FlexApp Core, deploying through our management console, you can check a box to fully cache apps to the endpoint, so they can go offline as well. The biggest difference with FlexApp 1 is that you can deploy it by other means. So if you're standardized on a deployment tool and you don't necessarily need the architecture running for us, and you want to roll those out through Intune or through Avanti DSM or Altiris or any of the solutions out in the market that deploy software, you can do that without the architecture needed. And you can also share it more readily. Now with great flexibility, of course, you don't want to open up a security hole, and that's why we implemented OAuth in our FlexApp 1 packages. You can make any FlexApp 1 package OAuth and then engage in like the Microsoft MFA to have that application open. So even when you're offline and all that, or not connected, MFA would need some kind of connection to work, obviously, but you would have that security assurance there.
Yeah, and also with FlexApp 1, we have the ability to expire applications. So, I have a customer that's a university, and what they do is they give FlexApp 1 package to their students, and after the semester is over, their packages auto expire, so they don't have to go out and recoup that asset.
Great. Any other questions, Ray?
There was a question a little bit about, you kind of covered it a little bit with the FlexApp one, but there was one talking about, is that separate? Is that available? FlexApp one, is it available separately from core FlexApp, or is it all part of the same solution?
So, yep, good question. When you are licensed or subscribed to FlexApp, you have the ability to create packages by either means. And the packaging console that you saw today literally has two outputs, two containers. If you check the box for FlexApp one, it will create that as well, and you'll have that. So it's only licensed one way. It just gives you great flexibility in a more dynamic format, more standalone format.
Great.
I see another question here. I've seen the way you work with Remo 3. Could you tell me more about that? Yes, our alliance with Remo 3 enables us to enables Remo 3 to take our FlexApp format, and they've actually done some work with APIs to be able to package up FlexApps. Is really the most end-to-end of any of the testing validation solutions, and also out of all the formats that they support, it's the most end-to-end, and that's because they can also deploy applications in Intune. And as you have heard today, FlexApp 1 gives you that ability, but they can package up a FlexApp and they'll have the output in two formats. And the formats are in our FlexApp Core format and our FlexApp 1. And then they can invoke testing and validation. And that testing and validation that they do will vet it against a platform. It'll also vet it against operating systems. And it will give you a score based on the validation of that package. The package that they'll actually test out of the two that they had an output of, FlexApp Core and FlexApp 1, they'll actually test the FlexApp 1 format. And that enables them to do it without setting up additional architecture for you to have to set that up either, and that integration with them. But the result is going to be the same for the core package, and it's going to be the same for the FlexApp 1 package on the validation that it provides. So you can have the assurance of knowing that that same secondary format will work with either one. And that last part that they can do is specific to them, is they can deploy that FlexApp 1 package directly in Intune. So that's what I mean. The end-to-end packaging and validation and deployment that Remo 3 has out there is the most integrated of anything in their stack for the ones that they do it against, and also against the testing and validation vendors that we work with. They've done the most complete end-to-end package, but we also work with ones that embrace us for our FlexApp Core functionality, and those include IT access management. They've done a lot of things out there to be able to do end-to-end of our FlexApp formats in a great way. And then application readiness, otherwise known as readiness, has also done great work with us. So a great question. Thank you for that.
Great. I did see another question asking, somebody had to drop off earlier, and they were asking about if the session was going to be recorded. We are recording the session, and we will get a link out to that recording later on today. So watch your inboxes for that link to that recording.
Ray, you want to tell them about Peer Insights?
Yeah, sure. So we have a program with Gartner Peer Insights. Well, actually, this is a program that Gartner puts on, and we have listings there for all of our solutions. And so this is something that we can ask you if you have any experience with either any of our products, be it FlexApp or Profile Unity. If you scan those codes, you can go in and take a survey, fill it out, and if you qualify per the parameters from Gartner, they will send you a $25 gift card just for about 10 minutes of your time. The survey is real quick. It just kind of tells you about your experience. You can see our other reviews out there as well that we have on the products, and you can see that we've got almost a 5-star rating out there. So it's a valuable way for people to share things. You might be familiar with the Peer Insights program if you're looking at different solutions and how they stack up against one another. But this is a really powerful tool that you guys can use to look and see what other customers. You can see how that they stack up, and you can see that in some cases their industry, and see the positives and negatives about this. So if you have a little bit of time, we appreciate it if you would go ahead and take 10 minutes of your time and fill out that survey. It'd be great. You can just scan that QR code and go straight to it.
It's a gift card, Amazon gift card, right?
I'm not 100% sure where it is, because Gartner sends out the gift card for it. So
it was at one
I'm not
time.
sure.
I don't know. Maybe
Yeah,
well,
they might rotate it around. So I'm not 100% sure about that. I just know that it's a $25 gift card that they can do for that. So it's a pretty cool little program. I did see another question come in and asking about does FlexApp have any compatibility with Mac?
Good question. So you can, here's the thing, here's what I'll say out there, is that no vendor out there that packages up Windows applications can make a Windows application run natively on a Mac, natively in the OS. The way that you get these packages out in a Windows format, and we can do this too, is ultimately publishing the application from a Citrix server or RDS server, and then bringing those in through a client that makes them look and feel as if they're running on that Mac. So no magic can be done to make a Windows app run on a Mac unless you virtualize or run a virtualized OS there that's providing Windows into it. Same thing on other operating systems like Linux. You need to publish the application and bring it through. And in that way, we provide those and work with the technologies that do that seamlessly. Citrix, the Citrix client, the RD client, and now called the Windows app from Microsoft that can get you to a published application in that way. And so it's a pretty cool experience though when you do that, because the end user has the feeling that it's natively executing on that endpoint. We've got some demos of this in the IGL OS and Stratodesk OS, and we've done it on Macs as well, where it's actually it looks like it's running, but it's actually running on basically a published application server. Tom, you want to add anything to that? You're on mute still.
No, yeah, that's correct. That's correct. You'd have to VirtualBox or get it in there in a more isolated environment to where it decouples it from the Mac OS.
Yep. And you know, you've done work in your career, Tom, for some other solutions. That's the same answer that they're basically giving people to do that, right?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. In a past life.
Yep.
We've had to double hop a few things based upon that workflow.
It does look like magic when you see it occur, and it looks like it's running on a Mac. And you can even look up YouTube videos where some more solutions say they support the Mac. When you get into how it's actually implemented, truth in advertising, that's what's happening. We do it too. We can bring that app into a Mac.
Excellent. Well, with that being said, we are right at the top of the hour. We have about a minute left. If you have any other questions, or if we didn't get a chance to get to your questions, because there might be a few that we didn't have time to cover, feel free to reach out to us. You can reach out to us at sales@liquidware.com, or maybe even a better way is to join our Slack community. You can scan that QR code and join our community, and we have all of our technical experts are on there, and we have other users out there as well. It's a great place where people are sharing ideas, asking questions, and moving around through that. So that's another great place to ask your questions. And maybe when you're watching this recording, a question will pop up, and it's on demand. So you're like, oh, I missed my opportunity to ask a question. You didn't, because you can go to the Slack community and ask that question away. So once again, keep an eye on your inbox for that link to the recording. Feel free to watch it for review or share with a colleague. And with that being said, thank you all for attending, and thank you, Jason and Tom, for bringing us through today's presentation.
Thank you.
Thanks all.
Take care.